Return to Glory podcast. Hunter Zarb, Nikki Austin Rose, Dakota Freetag. Can't say your name. Wisconsin week. It's end of November. Still searching for our 6th win. Dylan Raiola has guaranteed that Nebraska will make a bowl game this year. Guaranteed. But Dak, before we get into that, I hear we have some breaking news.
Okay, yeah, we got some breaking news here. Malachi Coleman is redshirting the rest of the year, playing transfer.
That's
False.
the rumor.
Did you see the account that it got posted from?
Yeah, but
I thought you were going to bring that up because it got me about 2 hours ago, and I sent it, and then I opened the account and read the comments, and it's an account that doesn't have very many followers and not a true source. Now, maybe there's.
I thought you were going to announce Natalie Potts tore her ACL out for the year.
Nope. Okay, so
no surprise, that gets fooled by a fake Twitter account. It's not a fake Twitter account, just not a valid source. I will say it got me too when I saw it. It also maybe could end up,
and it could be true.
It could be true, but more to come on Malachi Coleman. But yeah, Austin's breaking news that wasn't about Malachi Coleman was Natalie Potts on the women's basketball team tore ACL against who do we play, like North Alabama or something?
North Alabama,
non-contact, which ended up being an ACL. That's a big blow for the ranked
Big Ten freshman of the year last year, wasn't she? All Big Ten freshman team, maybe not Big Ten freshman of the year, but
yeah, we play Creighton, both men and women, on Friday up in Omaha. So we'll hit that here on today's episode at the end as well. But there's still a lot to talk about here in November. That is actual real news. That good effort. Appreciate it.
Now if it comes out tomorrow, it's real. Credit me.
Then we'll give you credit.
Yep.
First off, I started with the Dylan Raiola comment. What do you guys make of that?
I know the comment you're talking about, and yes, he guaranteed it, but it's also the same thing as listening to a player be like, "Yep, we're gonna go out there, we're gonna win that next game," and what do you want them to say? If you can't say like, "Yeah, I hope we can win one of these next 2 games and make it to a bowl."
I like it. I like it all. I like the confidence that it sends to everybody, and if we don't, everyone's going to be pissed anyways, and it's all going to blow up, and it's going to be a disaster anyway. So it's not like this comment has any effect. I like the confidence though that it sends to the team. I don't care what the fans think about it and what they think. He is saying we're going to get this done. The seniors have said that before. The older players. It's a group effort though, and we can do it. We're favored 2.5 points. The line's actually moved in our favor. Wisconsin's in a whole lot of turmoil themselves. We can do it. We just have to find a way to win. That's kind of the message. Dak, what do you think? Guarantee a bowl game or what?
I was actually saying the same exact thing Austin said. You can't. What do you expect them to say?
Not say anything else. I mean, I'm saying he said the line. Obviously, the other side is not saying it.
Yeah, it basically comes down this week because I don't think you're beating Iowa. So yeah, he's basically just guaranteeing you're going to win this game. I think that's what he was saying. I think your season comes down to this game. I think Wisconsin is your best shot because they're, like you said, they're in a lot of turmoil right now. They don't even have an OC. Did they name an OC?
They did, I believe. I mean, obviously someone is calling.
They don't even have an offense or they don't even know what offense they're running, but it doesn't matter. Their offense sucks. I don't know. I don't think any shot against Iowa, like I said, this your best shot. So here you go.
So yeah, we're here and Wisconsin. It's funny. College football, everybody's in their own set of issues right now. It seems, and it is just the year that we've had no matter if you have 8 wins right now or 5 or 2. Everybody's at a different place, but there seems just to be a lot of moving parts, and you're able to have moving parts because of the fast-paced environment that we've talked about a lot. So, yeah, Wisconsin, you mentioned, fired their OC. They lost their starting quarterback earlier in the year. Now they have Braden Locke. Ches Malusi, their running back, one of the projected top running backs in the Big Ten, just decides to walk away from football early on in the year.
Yep.
And now they're left with, we don't know, I guess. And Rule's comment was, we're going to focus a lot on ourselves when it comes to game planning, because it's going to be tough to know what they want to do. Here's my prediction, or what I envision. We're going to see a lot of run heavy, more power stuff, the old Wisconsin, because I think the air raid that they were trying to employ at Wisconsin with Phil Longo and Luke Fickell coming in, I just don't think that meshes well when you're not winning games. It's like we've seen it before, transferring from a very run-heavy option to a West Coast type of offense. Sounds pretty familiar.
Well, they also didn't factor in, or they didn't change the offense when they got their back quarterback in, who is a lot worse than their starter. I mean, you got to change your offense up because Tyler Van Dyke, I feel like what I rank him this.
Yeah, you were high on Tyler Van Dyke. I wasn't as much as you were, but you loved him.
I wasn't saying he's amazing, but he can throw the ball. This dude they have now sucks. He's awful. They would have beat Oregon if they had a competent quarterback at all. So I don't know. That's what should scare you is last week's game with Wisconsin. Just they should have beat number 1 team in the nation. But I don't know. I think this offense, they're maxing out at 16 points. I don't think they can score higher than that.
Hope you're right.
You're just jinxing it.
I saw.
There's no shot that their quarterback is the worst.
They scored
quarterback
52 on Purdue and 42 on Rutgers, which we did not.
I saw a fun little tweet that said, basically went through these things that we listed, and then they said, and this one's gonna hurt. Basically saying that, yep, they have all the reasons to lose, and we're gonna find a way to lose.
Didn't their DC also leave a couple weeks ago because he got a DUI?
Yeah.
It was like Kubiak, or it was some former NFL guy, wasn't it?
And he left like the next morning. He said, "Yeah, I'm done."
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of remember what you're talking about. I feel like that was maybe earlier in the year. I don't remember. Here, I'll be honest. I have not watched a lot of Wisconsin. I don't exactly know. I watched that game a little bit on Saturday night, and I guess it makes you a little more concerned. But I don't think that Wisconsin, how they played against Oregon, is any different than how our game went with Ohio State. And you can read into it all you want, but I still just think it comes down to what we've talked about and what Rules mentioned too. Every game in the Big Ten is going to be a battle. It's going to be tough. There's going to be very few blowouts anymore. Now it's happened. We've been on the wrong side of that, but there's going to be games you can win. And that is true for these last two, but especially this one. And just because Wisconsin hung with Oregon doesn't change my mind anything of them really. And in fact, I think people were surprised that we were the favorite when the line came out, but it's actually moved in our direction after the news of Phil Longo getting fired. So it'll be a battle. It'll be a tough game to win, and we're gonna need everything we can to come out on top.
I mean, ESPN's matchup predictor has Wisconsin winning, which is interesting.
Dak has them scoring less than 16.
I don't think that. I don't know. It's senior night. We have a lot of seniors on defense. You expect us to come out with a little more zip, kind of like we did against Colorado. And you're right, they do have a new play caller. So I can see our defense playing with their hair on fire a little bit more this game than in the past.
The thing with the spread is, I think it's basically you got because home teams get 3 points. It's basically just an even spread if you
Yeah.
think.
It's
So
a
I
pick 'em.
don't. Yeah, it's basically a pick 'em. Yeah, but like you said last podcast, I feel like the crowd for this game is gonna be rocking in the beginning. As soon as with like
As soon as
stuff
Wisconsin
starts going
marches down
south,
the field and scores on the first drive.
yeah, as soon as stuff starts going south, the crowd's gonna die. Like it's
See,
not
and
gonna take long for the crowd to be out.
I don't disagree. That's unfortunate that probably will happen, but I think that's the state of where a lot of the fan base is right now. It's not really knowing, or I mean, I'll say it, starting to lose hope that this thing can ever get turned around. So that's a good transition. We'll pause in Wisconsin for a second because I want to jump into this. Mitch Sherman from The Athletic wrote an article after the USC game. Basically, and I don't know if you guys got a chance to read it or see it. The gist of it, the summary, cliff notes at the end was that basically there's nothing else left for Husker fans to really do besides give up. It was pretty dark. It was bleak. Like he basically just said it's not going to happen. Like just give up faith, give up hope, quit loving Husker football. That's something we really haven't heard before, but it may hit home for some people when you think about what's happened over the past few years and where things are potentially headed one way or the other. What this made me do, which I think is interesting, is it kind of like like hearing that, I'm like, oh gosh, like that's tough. Made me reevaluate where I've been at as a fan, as far as how much I care or invest time, emotional energy into Husker football. And I kind of went back through my, I guess, lifetime as a person in my upper 20s and where I sat, because it was kind of fun just to see like how your emotions changed over time. So like if you're listening, it'd be fun to do it yourself. Here's how I did it. Dak, yours is going to look extremely hilarious. Basically, on a scale of 1 to 100, 100 being the most invested, the most emotional effort that you ever put into Husker football, that's your 100 at some point in your life. And at some point you hit a peak, right? You maybe hit a peak multiple times, but at some point you hit your dead peak. 1 being you are just disinterested almost to the point that you're apathetic. You don't care about Husker football. You're not invested in it. You're spending very little time thinking about it, talking about it, researching it. This has nothing to do with being disappointed, because if you're disappointed, guess what? You still care quite a bit. Actually, you care a lot. If you're disappointed and hurt, your care level is up there. So it is all about, I guess, your emotional investment and care, call it love, with Husker football over your lifetime. We can just kind of go through it at summary, but it was fun to think. I can think everybody can probably say, and if you don't, I think you're probably lying, maybe not. When Scott Frost got hired, and leading up to that year, it was very high, very, very high, maybe the highest of my life. Maybe if you're going to look at it on a graph, it took a pretty quick fall, because I would say maybe one of the lowest cares that I was really invested in, besides when I was young and really didn't understand what was going on, was Scott Frost's years like 3 and 4. Where for a week we were doing the podcast, but I was like, I don't care what happens. Like, I did the podcast and I didn't really listen to anything else. It's funny this year how I've found myself a lot more interested than I thought I would. I don't know why that is. There's something about it that has kept me engaged, even though it's going poorly. I'm caring a lot more this year.
It's the 5-star quarterback.
Yep.
It probably is. I think that has a lot to do with it. And I think the environment of college football has a lot to do with it too, because I think it gives you a little bit of like reassurance that these teams can come in and do it so quickly. And there's not so much these powerhouses anymore. Like Georgia's not, people might have thought they could have just dominated everybody this year. They didn't. And so now there's a bunch of teams this year that can win it. It kind of gives you a thought of like, okay, this stuff matters. The decisions we're making now matters for the next year or two. My last kind of thought on where I was at when I was young. In my teens and leading into high school, I cared a lot about it, but I didn't, and no, there wasn't the resources to invest as much besides reading the paper. But I cared a lot. Like I couldn't wait for the Sunday paper to read the articles and read the grades that the sports writers were giving and read about it that morning. I would go to bed on a Friday night or try to go to bed, but I wouldn't be able to sleep because that next day I knew there was a game. When I was in high school, Dak, your face is like, what is wrong with you?
Jesus.
See, you don't see, Dak, you don't understand some of the commitment that Husker fans have. So I remember as a kid too, they always used to do the player of the game in the back of the newspaper. They had a full picture of like the player of the game of the week. And I would cut those out and hang them on my door as an elementary kid every game. And I'd have them lined up like that kind of stuff. I was very invested. That was also probably one of the higher times. That would have been, I guess, Callahan and Bo Pelini. Probably more Callahan than anything, which is kind of sad to say. But I think at that time, nobody thought we were ever going to not make a bowl game for 8 consecutive years. That wasn't that was never a thought. It happened one year, and we were all like,
"Fire!"
It was a disaster. We're so far away from that now. It's kind of funny to think back. So anyways, I don't know if you have any comments on that to think about, but it was kind of fun to think about how your graph and your emotion has changed.
I mean, honestly, so I watched the games and I cared and I enjoyed them, but I did not, elementary, high school, I did not work my life at all around the games. I watched, if I was at my grandparents' house on Saturday, I'd watch it. It might be on, but I was usually napping during it. It wasn't really until college when I got super interested. But I think that's, regarding the article, it's a little bit of a outsiders, like what fan base, that's not why you watch the sport. I mean, obviously you want to win, but you're not going to watch something you don't care about. So he's basically saying don't be fans of Nebraska football because they're not going to be good. But that's also not why sports exist. Like you don't.
I think his argument was become apathetic. Like basically stop caring. What I heard this on the Nick Baugh podcast. Like they made a good point countering it. It's like care is not something you can necessarily control. It's an emotion. You can't just say I'm going to stop caring about X. Like. You can't get your body or your mind to do that unless there's something else that comes along. Like maybe you're trying to like, what do you in Nebraska? What are you going to do? Like,
right. On Saturday.
I've tried
to do.
I've tried the K-State thing and I still I've tried it, but that has not subtracted anything away from Nebraska football, anything. But I've tried like saying, I want to get into this team to try to take my mind off of all this other crap. I can't do it. Like we live in Nebraska.
Just you watching the game, it's the social aspect. You're tailgating, you're talking about it, you're watching it at bars, you're going to a friend's house.
I think that's his point is that so you don't get depressed and disappointed and emotionally distraught over it. Like, don't do that anymore. Like, just basically go back to don't worry about what's going on Saturday if you fall. And I think some people do that. I think there's all levels of people, and I think people are probably starting to go that way. I mean, that's the argument is that you care less now than you do 10 years ago. Like it's hard for us because we were growing up and developing, but
right. I think that's a product of just the older generation getting older. I do think that, when this younger generation becomes our age, it's probably going to be closer to that, but that's more of a product of everything. Like just the pace of which people consume content and how you're consuming content. You're just probably not going to, you're not lingering on those feelings as long,
right?
At that age.
Dak, I can almost make your graph out for you, but I want you to try to explain it.
This is his peak. This year's been his peak.
Oh yeah, no, I was gonna say my 100 care was the Colorado game this year, easily. That's the most I've cared about a Husker game ever, by a mile.
I would even argue that you care more about it the last couple of weeks in the Colorado game.
No.
I'm not saying excited. I'm saying caring for the program. The amount of time you're thinking about it, putting in effort, doing your, what do you call it? You call it studying for the
Studying.
podcast. You do more of that now because you're more invested in it now than you were the Colorado game. I don't think that's a question. I'm not saying excited. You maybe were more excited for the Colorado, but you care more about it.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. But excited wise, most I've ever been excited for Husker game was the Colorado game, unless they're playing Oklahoma. But anyway, so back when Frost got hired, I was not really a Husker. When I was younger, I was all an Oklahoma fan and give a crap about Nebraska, like one bit.
And I know you didn't. And maybe when, like, was there any coach, maybe it was Frost, when they got hired, that kind of piqued you a little bit to where you kind of
that started
looking at the scores a little bit more over time?
I actually hated Nebraska because that's when I was younger, because that's when Nebraska in the Big 12. So then probably when Frost got hired, I got a little invested, and I was out like on him pretty quickly. So I was invested watching that shit show go down. It was pretty funny to watch from the side. And then I joined your podcast, and now look at me, fully invested.
Now look at you.
Now look at me.
So yeah, the hate. I'm describing hate as still caring, right? Like, I will say I care more about Iowa football since we joined the Big Ten than I cared about them in the Big 12. I didn't care about them. No, I care about them now. It's not in a positive way, but I care about it. Same thing with Oklahoma. I care less about them now. But if I did the graph with Oklahoma, I probably care about them a little bit more now, Dak, just because you have joined. And so now I will like check the Oklahoma score just for the sense that I can give you crap when they lose. Like, I do care a little more about Oklahoma than I did 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's fun just to think about your emotions and how it's gone over time on your sports teams, your favorite teams. Nebraska football, and we've said this analogy before. It's like you're married to it, but you can't divorce them. You want to divorce them. You've tried to divorce it. You've tried to get away, but they just keep crawling back and just keep doing something to keep you crawling back.
It's a toxic relationship.
It's abusive. They keep slapping you while you're down. And they do it over and over, and you can't get out of it, because if you try to get out of it, whatever will happen. It's not good, but you can't get out of it, and that's just the state we live in. I think the apathy out of us three, Dak has the most experience with it in regards to Nebraska football, because he was there at some point. I can't say I ever had apathy towards Husker football and didn't care. That word is going to be used a lot if things don't get turned around over the next 10 years. And you're going to see it. You're going to see it happen. I'm not sure if we'll be podcasting in 10 years. There'll probably be a new big trend.
On ESPN or maybe the Big Ten Network,
Yeah. That word is going to get thrown around a lot. And that is what Mitch Sherman is referring to in that article, is that word apathy. And that's what everybody needs to go to. I just don't think you can control that. I think it's hard to do. I think that's just a natural thing that happens. And here's the thing with apathy, you don't even know, because you don't know what you don't know. It's just gone. Like, I would say I'm very apathetic towards most college football programs. Like, I don't care. I really don't.
I mean, honestly, like, even like the big teams, like, I was looking at the college football playoff rankings, and I was like, oh shit, I honestly forgot Georgia lost 2 games. I had no idea. I was like, oh, yeah.
You guys don't get excited for Indiana, Ohio State this weekend? Like, not one bit?
I do. I would say I care about college football. So, like, big games get me excited. But as far as, like, individual teams go, like, there's certain teams that, like, for example, Alabama, I probably care a little more about, just because I'm a big Saban guy, so I have some care towards them. But Ole Miss, I have zero. I could care less whether they go 11-2 or they go 2-9. I don't care. Like, so every team, I think you just have a little bit of different. Everybody does. It's your opinion on what you think of the team. Indiana, I kind of like. Like, it's been fun to follow Cignetti's story. So,
which I don't.
Anyways, I don't know if there's anything else to talk about here, but I just thought that was fun because it challenges you a little bit. Obviously, we have a podcast, so we all care about it more than the average fan. For sure.
Too much.
And a lot of my friends and people that we talk to, it's you can see the apathy set in over time as things don't go well with certain people that I would say on our scales are like in the middle to below. where we would have ourselves. They're lower. I think you can start to see that a little bit. And like you said, Austin, it's the generation kind of right below us, and that you're really going to see it drop off fast, because it hasn't been good unless things change and turn around and there's a new reason to dive back in. I don't know where my head's going to go. I don't know. Like you can't control it. So I have no idea in 5 years what it's going to be like, but I think getting a new coach always helps every time to kind of peak you, get you back going. Because once you get towards the end of a bad coach, that's where you'd be like, oh, this is stupid. And ultimately, guess what? That's what leads to someone getting fired, is the fans, but more importantly, the players and the donors and all of the people that impact the program directly. They stop caring and they start losing hope. That's what gets a coach fired right there. So we've seen that obviously a lot here at Nebraska, and not saying Rule is there, but there's signs. There's some signs starting already in year 2 that we just need to be making note of. Okay. Next topic. We heard from Mr. Dana Holgerson this week.
Yes.
Lot there. He I'll say it, and I saw it to the point, straight to the point, straight shooter. That's my biggest takeaway. And that is something that I'm a big fan of. And we have seen coaches beat around the bush, and the more pressure, the more turmoil that starts to go on, you start to just really be cautious and of what you're trying to say. And Rule's even stopped himself several times now. You're starting to see it with him. Dana right now, he just doesn't care. He just it's I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and it's going to be what it's going to be. I like that. I think that's what needs to get said. People just to really call people out for stuff that's not good. And Dana does that. That was my initial takeaway overall without getting into specific comments. I was like, hell yeah. Like, this guy is going to come in and it doesn't guarantee he's fixing anything or getting anything great, but he's at least coming in and identifying the problems and calling out the problems. The next step is figuring out what the solutions are and how to figure that out. That's to be determined.
I agree to an extent, but I will admit there was part of me when I listened to his interview that I got a little bit of the ick. Like, I was like, I don't know if it's a product of he's coming in mid-season and how do I want to explain it? He just felt like an outsider who didn't care that much. You know, he's just like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. Oh, I'm here because I was bored. You know, it's just like, I get he's being a straight shooter, but also there's that part of me that's like, okay, so like, you know, and he's like, yeah, you know, like when I was at TCU, I was there, but I just didn't like not having control, so I just did other things on the weekend. It's like, okay, so you really weren't invested in TCU? I don't know. I just got this weird, like, he doesn't care. He's just here doing a job. He listed off players by number, and I understand he's been there 2 weeks, but he's like, yeah, you know, like number 4 has got to get this done. And number 17, he's pretty quick out there, but he's not laying too big of blocks. And I was like, I don't know. This
Dak, initial thoughts. I like a lot of what you said there.
I've always loved Dana Holmgren's personality. Like, he, like I said, straight shooter. He will not. he's a wild card. What are you going to say there? I liked what he said about calling out players right there, about not blocking. I mean, he comes in and tells them right away, like, hey, what, you guys just not going to block up there or what? Like,
you use the word embarrassing.
Yeah,
it's
call
embarrassing.
the players. Yeah. Call the players what they do. I guarantee Sadfield wasn't. I guarantee he said good job. But
I will say this. We've talked about with Rule a lot. Rule never did that because he's always very cautious to make sure what the players hear from his press conferences had a positive impact on his team. This is a very different approach. We saw the negative impact of it when Frost started to do it too.
Street shooters often used for assholes. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I've also thought that assholes can sometimes make great coaches.
I agree.
If you have the right pieces around you. Now, he's obviously the offensive coordinator. He's not the head coach. Rule and his personality, I think, are they probably butt heads a little bit. I feel like Rule is a little bit of I'm not saying he's not tough, like not a straight shooter, but he has more of a
there's a little good cop, bad cop going on. It feels
calculated approach, I would say, very much. Yeah, good cop, bad cop's a good way of putting it. I want to go through Dana's timeline because you mentioned the TCU thing, which I think is important. I think this all, again, we're just speculating and trying to predict what's going to happen with this thing, and because that's what we do. Dana was at Houston, had a lot of success there. West Virginia is where he got fired at. And then if you go look and kind of see why he got fired, it's a lot of the attitude, Austin, that you were talking about. The I'm here. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put in the work that I think needs to get put in, which it sounds like he's putting in 16 plus hours. It was a comment he made here, but I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And I really don't give a rat's ass about anybody else. And ultimately that attitude, when you lose your players and you think that way, and you have very little relation to it all, that can end things very quick. It can go down south quick when you're not winning games. That's what happened. And fans didn't like him. Players didn't like him. The media didn't like him. Administration didn't like him. He just was an asshole, right? That
might work as a coordinator.
That's what happened. That was the word. Maybe not a head coach, maybe a coordinator. So that happens. He goes to TCU. He has to get employment because of his buyout contract. So he gets employment at TCU, but basically described the situation as didn't have an impact on the game to game, was consulting, showed up with a couple of games, couldn't have any say. So he just stopped going to the games, really didn't care, was really doing it on his own time, his own terms. And then in December, I guess that was the start of this year, backtrack to December of 2023 is when Rule and him spoke for the first time. I think this whole plan, maybe not so much him now, but his plan of getting involved with Nebraska was always on the horizon after last year, him getting fired. There was talk, but he said it wasn't the right fit. It wasn't, he needed some time off. He needed to breathe a little bit. Also at the same time, we knew our offense wasn't good last year. I think that's why we didn't go hire a new offensive coordinator. I really do, because Rule was hoping this would happen sooner than later. He wanted Dana to help, but he knew Dana wasn't ready. He knew he didn't want to force somebody into somebody that wasn't ready. So he waited. Now we're here. He picks up the phone, calls him, says, "Hey, come help." As he said he was bored. But then he also talked about the respect he had for the program, and grew up an Iowa fan, which that's going to be interesting for next week. He just is there's very much pros and cons of that kind of attitude. I liked it for the situation that we're in. It easily could fall off a cliff.
Yeah.
It easily could. And maybe even predict that's what could happen. Here's the thing. That is what we need to give ourselves a chance for this year. For the future, I don't think anybody knows. I think everybody has thought about it. I think Rule's thought about it. I think Dana's thought about it. I don't think anybody has even communicated, though, the plan because of the focus that everybody knows that we need to make a bowl game this year. And I think that's good. I don't know, though. There's a million directions this thing could go after the season gets over. So I like that what he came in and how he said it is what we need for this week and next week. And his game plan for how he's working at it is very good. Day by day, he's talking about his film watching, like, get practice. I go home. He goes, I watched a couple hours of film after that. And then it's right away in Wisconsin. Blah, blah, blah. I got to work on this. I'm working 16 plus hour days. There's a little bit of I talk in there, which
I was waiting to hear what you were going to, I was going to bring it up.
We've flagged that with Mark Whipple before. Like we did that from the get-go.
Yeah.
Again, I think, I'm not saying bring back Mark Whipple, but bringing in somebody like that, though, I like at this time of the year, it's still a good decision. Like Whipple and him have a lot of similarities. I think they do. I would say Dana's success and his resume is a lot better than Whipple's. Just just because he has that head coach experience. They're different people, but it's very similar. I think that's what this team needed, though, right now. I don't know about the future. I really don't. I tried myself not to think about where that's going to go. The biggest pro that gives me reassurance and all the negatives is that he used we and our when talking about the team already over and over and over and over and over. I was waiting for him to slip up and say the players, this team, Nebraska, you guys. I never heard that. That to me is a sign of like loyalty and that he wants to be here and he wants to work hard. So like Austin, to your points of like, oh, he's just coming here an outsider. He has made himself at least believe that I'm not an outsider. I'm a part of this program in such a short time. Otherwise, I think if there's a part of him didn't believe that, he would have slipped up because he just says it as it is. He kept saying we, our team, like all of those things, which to me was very encouraging for where we're at now. That's not guaranteeing anything that's going to look better or fix anything. I'm just saying it was a positive to me that was what I heard.
He also said he made the joke of he asked for the playbook and he said he got the first half or he got it and he said, well, where's the other half? This is just the screenplays or something like that. And I was like, I thought it was when I first read it, I thought it was funny. And then I watched the clip and I was like, well, I don't know. Maybe he was just being an ass. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I'm excited for it. We need the offensive change.
Give me a comment on that.
I mean, straight shooter. I mean, that's probably the truth. It's the truth.
Well, I have sent stuff and fooled both of you because that was an AI generated clip that I sent to you guys. So
I swear I was gonna ask, was that real?
I don't know if Dak picked that up. Austin clearly did, and I sent it to some other people too, and they didn't pick it up. They thought it was real, but that was an AI generated.
Really?
That wasn't real. That playbook, the screen passes, and the slinging around and run the comments. That's AI generated.
Oh. I didn't even see that. That's what you sent me. I saw that on something else.
Guys, we got to be careful. We got to be careful with social
media. There was a video
clip.
That's the reason why I was.
That's the wild part. It's an AI generated
and I was
video.
like, "There's no way that's a real quote." And then I saw the video. I was like, "All right."
I started picking up when this might be fake when he started talking about the runs. I was like, "Okay, this." I mean, I could see him saying the part about the screenplays. Like, I don't think he cares at all.
Right. Well, and I saw that after I watched the Holgerson interview, and I was like, it definitely seems like something he would say.
Yeah. What I was going to say about Holgerson is, though, the only thing you worry about is with him being an ass is coming in right away, and these players are like, well, who the hell is this guy?
Right.
Just walking in like that, and then they're like, yeah, screw him. But, which is why Malachi Coleman just left.
The hope is that the players knew themselves, and it's funny when every time Satterfield gets brought up in any conversation in the media with Rule, Dana, anybody, it's like he's this. I don't know. He just got demoted now. Like they're trying to still talk him up like he's this really good dude, but like no one has respect anymore because he did. He got fired from the offensive coordinator position. I think that all of the impressions from the players has to be, okay, what we were doing was not working, so we got to give this a shot. With anything new, though, if you don't find success with it, this is why I wrote this down. This is either going to work or it's going to massively fail and blow up. When you have that kind of mindset and that approach to things, the straight shooter, it's either going to work and then that comes with wins. But this mindset is very hard if you're not winning or you're not having success with what you're trying to do. You get turned against very, very quickly, especially these kids in today's world where there's massive opportunities that are very easily accessible to just walk away and say, I'm going to try this now. Like that's the world we live in with the transfer portal, NIL, all of that. So if it doesn't work and it's not a quick work, it's going to blow up. And that's just the reality of it. That's how kids are programmed these days when it comes to persistency and trying to be determined on something. I'm not saying they're soft, but at the same time, they have so many more alternative options to choose from if what they're doing is not working. So that's the red flag that you got to be careful with that kind of approach. But again, for right now, with what we're trying to do for the last 2 weeks, I love it. Like what we were currently doing was not going to get us 2 wins or a win. I don't think it wasn't going to give us success. This is something different. That's going to give us a chance. Could blow up in our face. I don't know. But it gives us hope. That word hope for the last 2 games is something different.
I'd love to hear his thoughts on the NIL and transfer portal right now. I guarantee he hates it.
Coaches like that probably don't like it.
No, I don't. Because I would think that he would think people are quitting on the team.
Name some other coaches that remind you of him, I got a few that come to mind.
Mike
and then
Gundy,
think about how they correlate with today's environment.
Mike Gundy.
Yep.
Dabo.
Dabo.
The recent one in the news, Brian Kelly.
Tries to be. He tries to be like that. I think he has a fake personality anyway.
I'm gonna say it.
Lincoln
Saban,
Riley kind of does.
Nick Saban. He's like, I'm getting out before this all gets really messy.
Yeah.
It's interesting how this all works. It is. But I would say on the flip side of that, I think Kurt Signetti has it in him. A lot of it in him. And look what he's doing. So this is what I'm saying. This approach, it can go this way or this way, but there's not much in between on where you go. It can work, and it can work really well if it turns into wins. But if it fails, it's going to look at some of these. I'm not saying Clemson and LSU have fallen off, but they're not getting to where they want to be. Lincoln Riley.
I have one that would be in the middle. I have one coach that's stuck in the middle the whole time, PJ Fleck.
Yeah.
That's about the only coach I can think of that's not falling off or going any higher.
Yeah, you're right. He's one that's like that, but he has just stayed very
about the same every year, which is top notch for a minute like that.
Yep, you're right. That'd be a good one to call out. That's different. So, last Dana thought here. Interesting comment. We can make some predictions on it. He talked about he found a young guy that can make an impact on Saturday.
It's got to be. I originally thought it was going to be Malachi Coleman, and then all the stuff came out that it
is Malachi. It's Malachi. I'm telling you, it's Malachi.
I think so too.
I don't think this stuff's true. I think it's completely fake. It's Malachi in my mind.
It's either that or Carter Nelson.
It's not an offensive lineman.
No, it's a receiver.
It's not a quarterback. It's not a running back. Maybe it's Gabe Ervin. Maybe.
Yeah.
Could be.
He just found out Raiola is his quarterback.
It could be Doss. Could be Doss.
Could be Jaden Doss. It's a good one.
It's got to be Coleman. He's not. Looking back, I just went back and looked. That tweet's faker than fake. But anyway, it's got to be Malachi Coleman. I don't see any other way. Because I can't. I don't know why Satterfield never used him either. I thought he looked really good last year, and then this year they said, "Oh, we're not going to use you." So, did he redshirt this year?
He was going to redshirt this year.
He still can. So you can play you can play the 4 games and still redshirt. Another weird decision. Not that we need to get into all the details and have a conversation about it. Of the decisions to redshirt certain people. It was almost like we were 5-0, so we're 5-1. So they thought that we're going to be fine to achieve whatever our goals are, and so we don't have to certain guys' eligibility this year. Riley Van Poppel's another one that I feel like could have helped us out quite a bit. Obviously Malachi. It's weird. It's like we tried to take we don't need him this year. But the flip side of that is maybe they weren't good enough to play. I don't know. But then we're not using guys like Jalen Lloyd too, which is so
really good.
Every time you do something good,
strange. And it just makes you wonder what the evaluation decision was on that. Like, was there a sense of overconfidence with how this team was going to do this year? And now it's like, oh shit. Well, we made that decision, so we can't change it because they can't. I don't know. I thought that was really weird with how, especially someone like Malachi, who we all thought from last year could have made an impact this year. We haven't seen him. So that's who I think it could be. And again, if that's what happened, Dana very easily could have came in and said, "What the hell? Why isn't this guy playing? What did you guys do? What did you guys do?" And they're like, "Well, here's the decision." Dana's like, "Why the hell did you do that? That's the stupidest thing you could have done." Like Dana could have easily said that, and once you make the decision, you're blinded by it. You have your blinders on. You don't know. You just say, "Okay, this guy's not playing. We're redshirting him." That very easily could have been what happened, and it kind of sounds like what happened. Dana's like, "Well, we have this guy that's been sitting here all year. He hasn't been playing, but he's really damn good, and nobody had the balls to say, let's go get him on the field." Like, it sounds like that's what happened.
Right. And, it's if he's like, hey, you have this really good quarterback that can throw the ball, let's get the fast, big wide receiver out there. Maybe that'll be good for Dylan Raiola, who keeps, wanting to chuck it downfield.
The other comment that kind of ties into our game plan this week, Dana kept talking about how it wasn't really the what was the word he used? Operations of it all. It was he said the execution, the actually doing the plays,
performing the plays.
Yes. So I think that's important to note, and it's not like we are changing a bunch of stuff scheme wise. There's some new things to learn, new terminology to learn, all of that, but it ultimately comes down to blocking, getting holes. And then when you get the holes, running backs, can you make a run? And Rule said it, you got to turn a 10-yard run into a 40-yard run. There are times, and Rule said it this week, that you go back and watch the film, there's missed opportunities. That's nothing that we haven't heard with this offense. It's just now, can we coach it and fix it, use the word fix, for the last two games enough so that we can get a win. And against Wisconsin, guys, their defense is going to be good. Like, it's not, I would say this defense is going to be better than the last two that we've seen. And Iowa's probably going to be maybe even a little notch ahead. It's going to be a tough defense to score on. And we got to be creative in how we are scoring and designing plays against them. They're built a lot bigger, faster, stronger than these past couple of teams we've played on the defensive side of the ball.
I agree. If you're looking at Wisconsin, their defense is going to be their strength. Obviously, that's why their offensive coordinator got hired. I looked it up. It was not Jack Del Negro. Who's the former coach of the Raiders? Jack Del Rio. Vinny Del Negro from the Clippers. That's a throwback. He was a senior consultant on the defensive staff, not the DC. But yeah, Wisconsin's defense is definitely going to be their strength. It hasn't been great, but they do limit their opponents' points. So, and who knows what our offense is going to do week 2? I have no idea.
I thought Wisconsin was, after they beat, was it Rutgers, and who was the other team they scored a lot
on?
Purdue. I thought they were turning the corner, and then it's just gone downhill since then. At least offensive wise, their defense is still about the same as it's been all year, up and down. I'm honestly, I haven't watched a lick of Wisconsin football. Like a little bit against Alabama, and then Van Dyke broke his leg, and I gave up on their season. So I haven't watched a lick. Like, there's no reason to. They obviously Fickell's system that he came in trying to do is not working. And I don't know about what Wisconsin fans are feeling like, but I feel like that he's kind of getting the hot seat too, with the same way Rule is. Like I saw a tweet earlier, he's 12-11. That they got hired same exact time. He's 12-11. Rule, I think, is 11-12 or 10-12, something like that. And it said which out those two is more surprising. I would probably say Fickell, just because he came in with a better.
Well, Wisconsin wasn't terrible beforehand.
Yeah.
So what's funny is, if you remember the hiring, Luke Fickell was a name that got thrown around with our hire as well. Yep. We made our hire first, and took Matt Rule, and then they got Luke Fickell. It is funny to see how the two programs have played out. Different starting points for sure, but I would say we're in very similar spots right now. And Husker fans are obviously impatient, but Wisconsin fans, it's gotten worse since the decision that they made. And it's gotten worse largely in part to the change in system that Luke Fickell came in and thought that he could do and is trying to do. Again, very similar to what Bill Callahan decided to come in and do on a program that had been having a lot of success before that. It's almost exactly following that same path here. They are throwing it a lot more, trying to. It's more spread. The Wisconsin 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago was give the ball to name one of the 6 running backs that they gave to. It's maybe they'll say, well, we don't have a running back like that. Well, that's also on recruiting to get some guy like that in, but they've always had one. Their guy, Towie Walker, is their running back this year. I just think they're going to go back to that. Maybe not completely there, but they're going to try, because that's how they're going to get the fans and everybody bought back in to what they're trying to do. Guys, Braden Locke is, like you said, he's 55% completion on the year, 9 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He's not going to be outstanding. Now, I think every quarterback has had an above average game on us than what they have shown. So even though our defense has been good, we are still making other players look better than they are. So don't be surprised if he does have a better game than what his stats are showing. But I think they're going to lean heavily on the run and try to go back to where they had success before it's really too late for Luke Fickell. Like you said, I don't think he's on the hot seat, but he's getting warm. And this year, and this game in itself is going to be a lot. If Wisconsin doesn't make a bowl game, Bill Callahan didn't make a bowl game, like right there is what starts causing people to
stumble.
Yeah, I
go for it, Dak.
I just don't know. I thought they should have hired Fickell. I thought Nebraska should have hired Fickell instead of Rule. I was
think would have said Fickell was a bad hire when Wisconsin hired him.
No, I thought he's a great, because he came from Cincinnati, right? Yeah. So
yeah.
I thought he was gonna come in, and where he messed up was he tried to completely change what they were. They were always just a run the ball like
dominant run the ball.
Yeah,
like, it wasn't just that they were good at running the ball. It's like Wisconsin will freaking pound the rock against you.
You can throw 11 guys in the box, and you're still not going to stop.
Yeah,
yeah. And he came in and tried to completely like go away from that entirely. Not at all try to run the ball at all. And you can't do that with you're coming in year one. You still have those players from the last coaching staff that's all they did. So I don't know. I think it's where he messed up. Maybe he can rebound. I don't know. But from what I remember, Wisconsin, Nebraska all the time is that their run game just destroyed Nebraska every time. Didn't Jonathan Taylor set a record?
Yes.
No,
it was Melvin Gordon.
Oh,
Melvin Gordon.
Maybe Jonathan Taylor said it and Melvin Gordon broke it. I don't know.
No, Melvin Gordon said it, and then the very next week, Samaje Perine broke it. So
it's been a rough, and that was a game that we were ahead 17-7 on, and then he ran for 400 yards in 3 quarters.
I don't think they scored again.
Any guesses since we've joined the Big Ten? Maybe you guys saw the stat. What's our record against Wisconsin?
We gotta be like 1-9 or something.
No, I think.
Well, we played them 2-9.
Yeah, maybe have they beat them?
We had to.
Oh yeah, they
once.
I'm gonna say 2 let's go 3-8.
1-11.
Only once?
Ooh.
1-11.
Yikes. This could be the game.
It's a rivalry game.
But these last 2 years, again, it's about the same way Nebraska football games always go. You're like, how did you lose the last 2 years against
Last year. I remember last year, Chella Purdy comes out first drive and looks absolutely electric.
Yeah. I was going to say, I can't remember what happened last year. Yeah.
Guys, we've had one 100-yard rusher since Rule's been here. Chubba Purdy in that Wisconsin game.
It probably been close this year.
Did it?
Nope.
Surprising.
that's also you have a 4 running back system right now. So
Right. Gosh, yes. I do not want them to run it all over us. I think our defense is going to do. I think our secondary and linebackers. I think the pressure is going to be decent on Locke. He's not a very good passer as is.
can he move?
I'm sure we'll make him move.
He has
I
18
don't know.
rushes for 19 yards this year, along
No,
with
he can't
11.
move.
So, not really. But he will kill us when it hurts the most. Their punter's name is Atticus, so that's kind of cool.
That is a classic punter name. I love it. Their field goal kicker has made 3 50-plus yarders. He's 3 for 3.
Oh, great. You know it's going to come down to that. He's going to drill like a 58-yarder into the wind.
From the 40 to 49 yard range. Though.
Yeah, he is 0 for 2 in the 40s.
All
right.
Here's the bomb
predictions?
prediction. But before score predictions, yes or no? Did they storm the field and make the bowl game?
Oh, no.
You said yes the other week. I'm saying no.
I think yes.
There's no way. No way. You can lead it. If you go to the game. You could lead the storm field.
I have to show off my shirt I'm wearing.
Wait, just tell the people what you're wearing. You should be wearing it tonight.
I'm wearing a bowl. It's not in yet. I ordered it today off Amazon. I'm wearing a bowling shirt, like an actual. Yep. I sense people and they're like, "What? What's that mean? You're not watching the game. You're going bowling Saturday."
Here you go. Go to the game. Wear that shirt. Get one of our podcast hats on, and just not even storm the field. Streak at the end of the second quarter or something.
There's a shot I get on TV wearing that shirt. 100%.
That's true.
It is short sleeve, so we'll see. We'll see how long I have it on.
It's supposed to be nice. Weather's supposed to be good.
Yeah.
Score predictions. Dak, go.
Let's go 24-20 Nebraska.
Oh my gosh, you did it again. You just said they're not scoring more than 16.
Okay, yeah, that's right. 24-16 Nebraska.
There you go.
Damn.
I don't remember what I say from the beginning of the podcast.
Oddly enough, I actually had the same score as Dak. I had 24-16 Nebraska.
That's why I did 24-20 because I knew Austin had the same score.
I hate it though.
20-13 Wisconsin.
Wow, you think the offense is not Dana Holgerson ready?
I just don't want to.
Or you think their defense is that good?
Don't want to believe it till I see it.
So no bowl game for Nebraska, huh?
Yeah, because we're not beating Iowa because I'm going.
Wisconsin is 27th nationally in tackles for loss this year. They're the 4th worst in the Big Ten on third down conversions. Feels good.
It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt so much Saturday, guys. Just be ready.
I know.
The
thing is, it's crazy. So I'm looking at the World Herald article right now. The quote from Luke Fickell about firing their OC. It's not about play calls. It's not about points scored. It's not about touchdowns. It's about moving forward with leadership. That's to me, and that's what we're doing. That's why we're doing it now. I mean, he's straight up like, this guy wasn't even like a good coach. He's like, not only were we not scoring, he's just a bad coach.
You can't. Nebraska at least fired theirs going into a bye week, or I didn't fire. I don't know what Satterfield's doing now. I don't really care.
Coaching our tight ends. He's doing a great job at it.
Yes, he is.
It was just
great job, Satterfield.
Even sat with the tight ends. It's something like he was like, yeah, all the position coaches are doing great. Even sat with the tight ends. I was like, damn.
They fired this guy going into a game. Like, I don't think you can't change much. I don't know who's calling play. They might just go Wildcat. F it. I don't know what they're gonna do.
You can't go Wildcat from air raid. That's
Dak, you got any picks this week?
Yeah, I'll get some picks here. Well, my lock was Nebraska minus 2.5. Then I got OU Bama, OU 13.5. I'll get 5 here. Colorado -3 against Kansas. I got a list here, so let me find my favorite one. I like Illinois -1 against Rutgers, and then my last one I really like is I love this Indiana plus 13.5. Take that lock off Nebraska, put that in Indiana. That's disrespectful to Indiana. I think
You can double lock it, two lock it. Do
Okay.
it. Hey, do a lock parlay there.
what did I say last night? Mark this in pen, not pencil. Indiana is winning that game. Take their money line.
Lock up the parlay. Do a little, throw those together.
See, I don't like Oklahoma spread at all. I just took that because
I like Alabama a lot in that game.
hey, I can keep that bowling shirt on though after the Huskers go bowling. Oklahoma's gonna go bowling after that.
Any thoughts on the Indiana Ohio State game, Austin? I know you said.
I mean, I expect Ohio State to win.
I'm intrigued. Like, I'm very intrigued because Indiana, like, we might be their best win.
Right, which is not saying a lot.
The way it happened too, but
They are.
I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. I'm like almost marking that on my calendar to try to watch it as well.
Is it big noon kickoff again?
Yep.
Sadly,
I'm gonna try to get that watched as much as the Husker game on Saturday.
Not a huge big noon kickoff guy. I like it once in a while, but night
It
environment
sucks.
games are so much better.
I'm still a primetime guy. Yep.
It
I love
sucks.
primetime.
You can't get a crowd that jacked up at 11 a.m. Like they should do like they used to do. The shitty games at 11, the better games at 2:30, and the absolute like Indiana, Ohio State, Alabama at night. But no, we got to do this big noon. I hate it.
Write a letter to him.
I'm thinking about it. Actually, we can get into it some other time. I'm actually fired up about that, but that's all right.
Dak, would you know how to put a letter in the mail properly?
I got to buy stamps first.
Okay, you at least know they're stamped. You know how to like write on the outside of the envelope.
Yep, address, where you're mailing it to, which address, the name of the company, which would be Fox Sports,
Attaboy.
zip code. Yep.
What
There you
about
go.
something else? There's something else you got to put in
State.
front.
State,
And but something
And
another
your
part
name.
on the front. What?
your name.
Your name and
It's talking the return address.
the return address.
I think he knows.
I
You
might
don't have
actually mail a letter to these guys.
You don't have to have a return address, technically.
Big Noon Kickoff is actually one of the things I'm most fired up about right now, but I hate it.
I like big noon kickoff better than game day.
Yeah, I do like watching their show better.
I just don't like.
I'm with you on that.
I just don't like their games at noon or 11 Central.
Yep.
And they're starting to get on fire for it.
The last thing here, mention the basketball teams playing Creighton on Friday. I don't have like a full breakdown or prediction, but what I do know, it's going to be tough for us to win.
It's going to be a bloodbath.
And I have not seen a spread yet. It is Wednesday evening. I'm guessing there will be one out soon if there's not one already. Not one out yet on my app. It could be tough. I will say our offense has done what I kind of thought it's done so far through our first 4 games. It has looked decent at times. And I think there's some good pieces, some solid pieces there that have potential. But then we go on a drought. And that St. Mary's game on Sunday was really bad to start, especially defensively. We were giving a lot of open shots, and they were making them. And then we got the lead, got momentum, and the next thing you know, our offense goes on another drought. So that can't happen.
Culver is going to absolutely just kill us inside.
Maybe. Here's what always happens, though, with Creighton and Purdue and these teams that have these giant dudes. We do a tremendous job on our defense of rotating and getting a quick double on the catch to where the guy can't
dribble, can't put it down. Yeah.
But we then ended up giving up a lot of threes. And Creighton last year, if you don't remember, just torched us from the perimeter. I can't remember what they were shooting, something crazy like 10 of 12 from 3 or something early on in the game. I could see that happening again. Like we took away Kalkbrenner, right? But they knew how to dissect the rotation that we have, our rotational defense, and scored a lot on it. That's kind of what I'm predicting to happen. I think we'll do a decent job on Kalkbrenner. Like he dropped 40 something, or he's dropped 40 a couple times this year. I don't think we're going to let that happen, but it's going to be a tough team to guard. And then offensively, like, good luck. One, trying to score with a 7'4" guy in the middle of the paint. We just still need to figure out. It's a long season, but we got to figure out how we're going to consistently score points with the team.
The ball doesn't move as well as it did last year.
It's because we don't have immediate threat in Casey and a guy like Rank who facilitates the offense very well at kind of that point forward spot. We don't have that this year. We're trying to figure it out. I'm not saying we can't get there, but I just don't have much hope that it will.
Kalkbrenner is shooting 90% from field goal. That's I mean, he's shooting 90% free throw too, but he's shooting 90%.
All he's got to do is drop it. He's standing there and drops it in.
And he's putting up 26 points a game.
Austin, you going?
What?
You going?
No. Tickets were a little bit more than I wanted to pay, to be honest.
I saw they're expensive.
Yeah.
I just don't think Nebraska has enough offensive power. But, hey, 2 years ago, their offense sucked. They beat Creighton and Creighton.
I might go to the women's game. Well, actually, tickets have gone down a little bit.
Is it doubleheader?
The women's play at a different facility, but
different
yeah.
facility, but same. But
Oh,
I mean,
really?
within walking distance.
The Creighton women's facility is actually really, really neat. It's perfect for a women's team.
Yeah.
DJ Sokol Arena, I think is what it's called. It's
I
few
didn't
blocks
know they
west
played a
of-
different spot.
I've only been to
blocks-
the basketball tournament there, but
I think it's a few blocks west of the Charles Schwab field.
So, all right, so let's do this instead of a score prediction because we'll all big Creighton. Spread. Project the spread.
What it's going to be or what we think the game's going to go out to.
I think it's going to be a
What the spread's going to be like coming out.
9.5 seems high. Give me 8.5.
I'm going to go, I think it'll be like 12.5, and I think they'll win by 18.
Yeah, I think. Damn, I was going to say 12 and a half. Let's go 13 and a half. Then I think Creighton wins by 12.
Ooh, that Nebraska covering.
Yeah.
You forget what you said already?
Yep. I can't remember. I said 11 and a half or 13 and a half.
All right. We'll be back Sunday. Hopefully not extremely disappointed once again. Go Big Red.
UBR.
Sadly, Boomer Sooner, it's going to be a bloodbath.
You picked them.
Yeah, I don't believe it, though. They're going to get it's going to be bad.